Oh boy. Give it a few seconds, see if it kicks in. You know how YouTube is sometimes.
Yeah.
Oh wow, it's live already. Holy. Well, never mind. Well, I'll give a few minutes, let everybody pile in here. Right now it's yeah, YouTube is being real nice to me. So they're not giving my notifications out, but most people still come in.
Yeah. I find that's it's a typical thing that happens with me a lot of times. Even though I've clicked the little notification thing, sometimes I don't get the notification until like 10 or 15 minutes after the show has already started, you know?
Yeah. And we'll go ahead and pop up a funky little intro here. That'll give a little bit more time for people to get in here. Let me see if I can find it. There we go.
Lights they flicker and the candles glitter like you're in a thriller. Heart goes pum pum pum. Ghostly figures they can get so bitter. Show you want to until you can turn back to. You don't know where I've been. What's going on inside? Where the monsters like to come alive, come alive. Do you really wanna know me? I'm really not that cozy. It's up to you, so you decide, you decide. Would you love me up my words till the coffin's in the dirt? Try to break me like a curse, you know that will never work. I'm a little bit absurd. I like dancing on the verge. Anyone can love a pretty little mansion, but could you love a haunted, haunted house?
There we go.
All right.
Well, we got Ginger Ninja in here, Angel, Shift Kicker, Barry J, Pat Evans, Judy. We got a Bill in here, Lola, John from Will It Grow. Yeah. Okay, why don't you go ahead and
I saw my buddy from Bigfoot Okanagan in here too. Yeah, a few of the people are starting to come that I advertised that is going to be on my pages yet. So you'll get a few of them people coming in to watch too, I'm sure. So,
well, go ahead and introduce yourself and tell everybody what your channel's about.
Okay, yeah, I'm Joe, aka the Bigfoot Atheist, aka Satch Squatch, and basically I am the founder and currently, well, no, there's one other person. I was going to say currently the only member of Western New York Bigfoot Investigation Group, which is the basic parent company. I don't know if that's the right thing to say, but you know, that's the foundation of the Bigfoot Atheist is Western New York Bigfoot Investigation Group. I started that page some years back when I first got into the online stuff. Up until then, I've been like into this phenomenon for like 45 years. So ever since I was 14 years old, got interested in it. And didn't really get exposed to everything until, you know, I don't know, really about 7 years ago. And I saw this stuff online about Bigfoot. And so I'm like, well, wait a minute. I've been looking into this for a long time, you know, reading books and stuff, not paying much. So I didn't think there was that much online about Bigfoot, right? But man, was I surprised.
Oh yeah.
And so I started out my page and my channel, and basically trying to promote a scientific way of thinking about this. I'm no scientist, but I try to do things with a scientific method when it comes to this Bigfoot phenomenon, you know. the Bigfoot atheist part came about after being inundated online. Because in life, I know that atheist is particularly when you're speaking of religion. You know, atheist just doesn't accept the claim that there's a God, which I am. But it sounded better. Bigfoot atheist sounded better than Bigfoot skeptic, because I'm not really skeptical about the existence of such creature. I'm skeptical or atheist about it, everything else that's being said about it, because there's no evidence for what a lot of 90% that you see online. You know, and the only reason I'm not skeptical about the existence is I told you backstage, I've actually had an occurrence out in the woods August 3 years ago that really shook me and changed my whole outlook on this whole thing. Yeah. So that's where I'm at now.
That'll do it too. I know if I've seen some, you know, huge hairy thing walk up on me.
Yeah, well, this one was about 40 feet away from me. Yeah. And there was a deer involved. So, and I've told this encounter online before. You used to be able to find it on my page, or on my channel. But as I mentioned, I completely wiped out my channel by accident one day because I'm old and don't understand technology. And I had to rebuild. So unfortunately, that video is gone. And I've told it on other places before. So,
yeah. And well, I kind of promised you that I would. This was sent to me, telling me this was Bigfoot. They recorded his voice and everything. So here it is. Now I asked
play that again. Yeah.
I asked him if it was a joke. And he said, "No, I'm serious."
Yeah, okay. It's a real sick Bigfoot, I think.
Yeah. But I keep it just to get a laugh, because every time I hear it, I'm
yeah. Well, you know, you find a lot of that online, you know, I mean, and it's really disheartening. I've said this before in other places, and I've said it on my pages and stuff. It's really disheartening that this phenomenon is, like I said, as looking at it as a phenomenon, whether or not Bigfoot is real, the phenomenon itself is a very real thing. And so it's really disheartening that what started out with a few guys, really back in the 50s, 60s, and 70s or whatever, just a few people, started out as actually a scientific endeavor to see if there's actually something to this. And it has turned into this what I call pop culture Bigfoot 3-ring circus, man, where you've got Bigfoot, you know, is an alien, was transported here by aliens, is an interdimensional being traveling through portals and cloaking and telepathy. You know, it's very disheartening. And like I said, you know, I tell these people that do believe all that kind of stuff with no evidence, I'm like, well, that's what I need, is evidence.
The first I heard of the Bigfoot when I was real young was from an Indian. And he told me the stories that he grew up. He'd never seen it or anything, but he says it's been passed down and this and that. And I thought he was just trying to, you know, scare me because we were camping out at the time. there was a group of us out there, and I thought that was his idea of scaring the crap out of me. And then next thing you know, when I was at a library or something, I looked at a book about Bigfoot and thumbed through the pages and whatnot.
Yeah.
But
well, yeah, and that's the thing. Is because of that, there's a long history of it, and I don't discount the accounts by the First Nations, Native Americans, American Indians, whichever terminology people are going to use. I think nowadays, they prefer First Nations, so I say First Nations. I don't discount any of their accounts of these people, because almost every single tribe has their accounts of these hairy forest people.
yeah,
And some of them attached spiritual things to it, natural to do that in the human psyche. Some of them, it was a purely physical being, and it was another tribe of hairy humans. So along with all of that history of that, plus I don't know what I myself consider hundreds of credible eyewitness reports, plus my own encounter out in the woods myself, and compiled that with the tracks. Now, lots of people want to say, oh, the tracks are all hoax. Those are easy to do. No, they're not. And yes, I admit, a lot of tracks probably have been hoaxed.
oh yeah,
But there are some by people who have absolutely no reason to discredit themselves or their reputation as scientists by saying this is an actual track of a foot that belongs to an actual animal. This is not a hoax track. This is not a fake track. And so put all that together, and that's what makes me go, there's something out there. It can be proven scientifically eventually, as long as we give science what they want. Now, science wants a body, or at least a skeleton, or something like that they can study. They don't want videos, because we know that, hell, with the upcoming AI and the better and better AI gets, you might as well forget that. Video evidence is out the window. And there's lots of people that are doing some pretty interesting studies out there and experiments, like this thing that's coming up with Sasquatch Legend Meets Science 2 with Doug Hychek and all those people involved. They're actually trying to test what they think could be fingerprint oil, or skin oil from a handprint, and they're going to try to DNA test that DNA, and see what comes back. And now there's no saying that, well, that'll definitely prove Bigfoot exists. Maybe not, but it at least moves the ball forward and showing that there's actually a physical creature out there. But you have to be careful of who you listen to, because a lot of it, like I said, 90% of it is just made up stuff, and it's done for whatever reason: popularity, want to be the most liked Bigfoot personality out there, or know the most about Bigfoot out of everybody. So it's a crapshoot, and there's a lot of entertainment in it too. Don't get me wrong; I love the entertainment part of it. I just wish that the hoaxers would just, because it's that which really keeps science. That's one of the things, of course, that keeps science, not only because they don't feel like they have enough evidence to really look into it, but it's also, if you look online, you'd be like, how could any of that be real? What? Bigfoot? What? Mind speaks? What?
Yeah, if you get 20 people that are making things up and saying that they've seen something, and then you have one person that's telling the truth, it discredits that one person.
Absolutely. And it's like, Bigfoot making, these noises. Now, as far as the sounds and everything that people will out there claiming oh, these are Bigfoot vocals. No, you don't know that. Did you see? Never once has anybody ever said, I actually saw a Bigfoot do this.
Yeah.
Not once so far. The closest I've ever heard was through Thomas Steenberg, who's a very awesome researcher. He's been in this as long as I have and has done 10 times as much as I have in this field. I heard one thing. It was, and I'll probably pronounce it wrong. It's a Lumley Reservation back in like 1970 something, I think he said it was. There were some officers that they saw this thing, which allegedly could have been very well a Sasquatch by its description, and it was moving into the trees. And then shortly afterwards, they heard these screams, so that they could say, you know, they assumed that, of course, it came from that animal. That, sorry, I just thought I saw a badger cross my front yard. I don't think we have badgers in New York. Made like that. Sorry about that. But they recorded it and you could hear it, and it was on a dictaphone. And so those might actually be Sasquatch vocals, if that indeed was a Sasquatch. Now, that's the closest I've ever heard of anybody actually. But all the rest of these recordings, yeah, they're sound. Yeah, I mean, they sound strange, but there's yet to be proven to be Bigfoot. Now, I'm not saying none of them can't be Bigfoot.
We got a question here.
But
what about the Patterson-Gimlin film?
Gimlin,
Gimlin film.
Roger Patterson and Bob Gimlin. As far as that film goes, that's one of the things that first got me interested as a kid. Is that and I thought I'd found maybe a footprint of a Sasquatch, Bigfoot as we call it in the States, at a creek bed. Now, I had associated the structure that I mentioned to Bushcraft backstage that I'd seen. That I don't have. I now have been able to analyze that for years, and I don't think that structure and that footprint were connected, and nor do I think that it had anything to do with Bigfoot. But yeah, I saw the Patterson-Gimlin film, and right around 1978, it was about 10 years after it had actually been done by them. And yeah, as a kid, I was quite impressed. I'm like, holy, what the hell is that? You know, and I had seen that film after the footprint. So I was like, wow, is that footprint? Could that footprint have been a Bigfoot? You know, because it looked very human and it was huge. As far as it's not been ever debunked to my satisfaction to make me go, yeah, I think it's a hoax. So
yeah,
do I think it's really what it is? Yeah. I think there's a good possibility of it. I don't see how Bob Gimlin could be lying all these years. Not saying it's impossible for somebody to do that, but sorry, my dog.
Let's get that cat.
But do I think it's a genuine? Yeah, I'm a little wondering why. She barks every time the neighbors come home. She doesn't care. She's like, I'm like, they're allowed to be there. So, but yeah, I'm a little mystified as why it didn't quite look like what I saw. But I mean, the fact that that one's female and what I saw, I think she had to start out right when I'm doing this.
I know the feeling.
They didn't look very, I mean, they didn't look very similar to me other than size, the way, you know, the hair, but the head, I don't get that, because what I saw did not look like her head. In fact, well, it's on the wall. There's a glare on it. This is a picture or a sketch that one of my good friends who's a sketch artist drew from my description, and I don't know if you can see this closer. This is kind of like gives you an idea of what I saw out there. I mean, this thing had a very deep brow ridge, very pronounced brow ridge, flat nose, big wide mouth, no lips that I could think of, and just really long hair that just covered its head and face for the most part. And you know, so that's
It's okay. Bigfoot, I sent you a link if you want to come up to your Bigfoot Prepper email.
Oh, I'm really sorry about that, folks.
Oh, that's okay. I understand.
All hell breaks loose as soon as I start into the show here.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, so that kind of mystifies me, but that doesn't mean that it's, you know, that she's not a Sasquatch and he is, or she is and he isn't. I mean, there could be morphological differences for some reason, but
just different regions too.
Yeah.
You never know.
But as far as the Patterson-Gimlin film itself goes, I think they really filmed something, you know, that it wasn't a man in a suit. Nobody's ever convinced me of that yet.
Yeah.
You know?
Yes, it's I mean, just to come up with the idea of doing it, and you know, I really didn't think that the whole thing was fake.
Yeah, I mean, and look, hey, they got a lot of good points when it comes to that on both sides. I mean, I think the side that says that it's a genuine creature has a stronger case than the one on the other side. But they have some things, you know, there's some points to consider on that side, you know. Roger Patterson was trying to make a Bigfoot film, you know, that kind of thing. There's a whole big history. If anybody wants to read it, it's actually pretty fascinating. But, you know, I think it's of the case because they've been able to, on the side of it's real, I mean, there's a whole lot they've been able to pull out of that, you know, muscle movement, things that you could not get in a costume back then.
Yeah.
You know, that type of stuff. And it really has more to do with Patty than it does to do with Roger Patterson's personality or his integrity or what, or his character, I should say.
Yeah, I seen them do there was a documentary where they turned the film in reverse negative to where you could see the almost like the innards of it. Oh, here we go. Here's a Bigfoot.
Hey, good to see you.
Hey.
Yeah, I didn't want to come up. I was letting the guest, Bigfoot Atheist. Nice to meet you, by the way.
Yeah, nice to meet you.
Yeah, I was going to let him, you know, do his thing, but I did have some questions because we are also unfortunately fellow New Yorkers, but
I don't say unfortunate. I love this state, man.
Well, we're upstate, and upstate's gorgeous.
Oh yeah.
We're on the southern edge of the Adirondack Park.
Oh, I love that, man.
Yeah,
I'm gonna be there this year. I hope.
Oh, it's
come around July 4th. I love going up there camping in a certain area.
Yeah, it's nice.
I'm in the western part of the state. I'm over by the Finger Lakes, and
okay, that's nice too. That's very nice. Yeah. But I'm originally from Southeast Ohio, and that's pretty remote areas too. But I always heard of this famous sighting from Whitehall, New York.
Yep.
And I knew about this in Ohio, and then this. Well, I can't call her. She's my wife now. She. Long story short, I fell in love with a girl and I moved to New York. I'll put it that way.
It's happened.
But anyway, I moved up here and I found out, wow, Whitehall's like just up the road, not too far. So she had some connections, and she actually set up a meeting with me and her, and the guy's name's Brian Goslin.
Yes.
And Brian was one of the officers in 1976 who had the sighting out on Abear Road.
Yep.
So that was my first like true meeting with somebody. Like, we got to sit down with we bought Brian lunch at the local diner up there, and we were sitting across from him, and Brian was telling his story, and you could, you can tell quite often when somebody's full of it.
Mm-hmm.
But just watching Brian bringing back these details from so many years ago, and you just watch the hair on the guy's arm stand up, it's like, I truly believe he saw something.
Oh, absolutely. I think that's one of the more credible encounters that I've ever heard, because there's several factors. I mean, there was several police officers involved and a state trooper that all saw this stuff, and there is absolutely no reason for law enforcement officials to make up something like that. Absolutely none.
Because I part of the conversation with Brian, since then we've become pretty good friends. We go up and see him often. He actually took us out onto Abear Road and showed us the sighting. He pointed right exactly where it was.
Wow.
Really cool. But as far as Brian, he like you mentioned, there's so many people who I forget the way you phrased it, but I call it, they try to Hollywood things up and make it big,
sensationalize it.
Yeah. So that's what they tried. Some of the big show producers that come out and try to capitalize and make their money off of it. They tried to get Brian to embellish and say this, and Brian refused.
Yeah.
And he ended up writing his own book.
Well, anybody who's honest about it and is telling a real encounter, they wouldn't embellish it for any reason, because it's TV or whatever.
Well, what more could you possibly have to embellish?
Exactly. I mean, it's amazing enough to even just actually run into one, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I didn't know there was DNA studies going on.
Yeah.
Well, the Ketchum study, that is, I'm sorry, and a lot of people want to get on me about it, but I'm sorry, that Ketchum study is nothing. It's a nowhere thing. It was discredited, and I'm sorry. And now she's raised a lot of money for some other new thing, and looking for dogman DNA testing. Come on now. And mermaids. Don't forget mermaids. Mermaids. So I don't put any stock in any of the Ketchum stuff. I'm sorry. However, with the people that are really looking at it seriously, doing DNA testing on samples of hair that may be, and the what they call sebum, the skin oil that may be, that's something that could,
What are your thoughts? You familiar with Jeff Meldrum?
Oh, I love Jeff.
Jeff goes about it the right way.
Well, Jeff is a scientist, which I'm glad to have one aboard. We do have a few. Now, a lot of them can't be outspoken about it. Jeff is so outspoken about it because he's got tenure, man. He doesn't have to worry about it, right?
Yeah.
But he's so knowledgeable in his field of study and science, the foot morphology, physical anthropology. I mean, so Jeff is very credible, and it's one of the reasons why, I believe when he says, nope, that's not a Bigfoot footprint. Yep, that one is, or it could be,
Yeah.
It looks very good, but
I have a lot of encounter stories. That's all I do basically on my channels. I narrate people's encounters, and I've never met many of these people. I don't know if their stories are true, but I read the stories because they're interesting.
Yeah.
But I've kind of lost my train of thought, but
the footprints. I've seen some of the castings, and I've seen some that really look like it would be like if something was 7, 8 feet tall, it would be heavy,
Yeah.
and you it would sink into the whatever soil it is.
Yeah.
But I've seen some that are just barely uh, looks like it barely touched the soil,
Yeah.
and those to me that doesn't look credible.
Well, a lot of
I
it has to
see
do, yeah, a
something.
lot of it has to do with substrate, of course. Like up here in New York, I mean, it's really hard to find like footprints. I mean, a lot of the forest cover, it's not conducive to actually getting like really good footprints out of, unless it's in mud or something like that.
Yeah.
And it's people have, and they continue, I'm sure, to try to hoax tracks, but and I'm not a tracking expert by any means. I'm not an expert in Bigfoot tracks. That's why I rely on other people that know foot morphology of primates to guide me and to, educate me on that. But the thing is, a lot of people, they don't know the difference between a double bear print and a Sasquatch track. And a lot of times that is mistaken for a Sasquatch track, especially if it's not, very indelibly imprinted,
Like a front and a back
yeah,
coming together.
yeah, because if you look at
I
a
can see
bear's
that.
back foot, they actually have a heel. It looks very human-like almost.
Mhm.
And now their biggest toe is opposite ours, but and oftentimes they will step in their own print, and it'll cause it to look a lot bigger. And then people go, oh my God, it's a Bigfoot print. Well, not if you really start to study it and you know what you're looking at, and what you're looking for. I've seen plenty of bear prints and double bear steps that originally, my heart started beating. I thought, oh my God, is this a Bigfoot footprint? Until I really, delved into it and started studying the print itself and found telltale. Now, okay, it's a bear.
Yeah.
And then a few feet away, you walk away and you see a pile of bear crap, so I mean, that's pretty telling.
Yeah, that's true. I know that I'm sure you guys are familiar with the principle Occam's razor. It's
Yes.
like whatever's the most simple explanation of two possible explanations. Usually, the most simple is usually the right explanation. Now, with all of the reports that I've heard and different stories from people, I think to myself, is it even possible? Is it easier for me to believe that every one of these people is lying?
Yeah.
Or is it easier for me to believe that at least one of them saw a Bigfoot? And if one of them saw a Bigfoot, Bigfoot's real.
There's something out there, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, there's no way that everybody is making up stories. There's just no way. And like I've mentioned earlier, I've heard hundreds of credible incidents and reports. So, but you can't take everything, as Bigfoot. And that's what a lot of people do. It's like they go out and it's like Bigfoot is, oh, that sound, that's a Bigfoot. It's like they have a confirmation bias,
Could Bigfoot be a cave dweller?
I don't put it beyond them. If there's caves around, sure. I mean, we've used caves, so if they are a large hominin, then if there's caves around, I wouldn't see why they wouldn't use them.
That's a good question.
I'm sure that there's people that are searching caves to see if there's any kind of evidence of them in areas where there's been Bigfoot reports or encounters or whatever. So I don't put that past, if I was a Bigfoot and I had a cave, man, I'd use it. Sure.
Yeah. It's a lot warmer than outside.
Yeah. But Yeah, I mean, and I mean, I don't even put it past Bigfoot to now. People get into structures and stuff like that, and I'm not saying that it's not possible that Bigfoot might build something. I just don't think that every structure out there that's ever been put online is a Bigfoot structure. I'm not saying it's possible, but there's no evidence that it was actually done by a Bigfoot. And I'm talking on a guy's show that is a bushcraft. And I'm sure he's seen lots of bushcraft structures, probably built some bushcraft structures himself.
Yeah.
So I'm just trying to get people to realize that just because you go out somewhere and you find a bushcraft structure doesn't mean all of a sudden, oh, there's Bigfoot in the area. But, a lot of people are going to think that, and it's like, you really have to do some investigation. If you can prove that it was built by Bigfoot, that's awesome. That would be absolutely awesome. If you can come up with some evidence that some structure that you found was actually built by a Bigfoot, then that would at least go, well, at least we know that Bigfoot does do this on occasion. Now, does that mean that afterwards everything that you see would be Bigfoot structure? No, because people do it.
Oh yeah.
And nature, nature does some weird things. And, sometimes even something that looks like a structure that was built was actually done by nature. So yeah,
like I was just that's where like I said, where I first heard about it. It was from a Native American, an Indian.
Yeah.
and
I had a mentor
that and shapeshifters are that kind of goes hand in hand with from Native Americans. The stories.
Some of them. I had a mentor. His name was Walter Barefoot, and he was part of the Iroquois here. He was a Seneca, and he used to talk to me a lot about Otnet Yahe, which is what they call them here, which roughly translates to stone coats or stonish giants. That's what they called them. And he told me a lot of stuff about them. And, a lot of people when you just talked about shapeshifters and stuff, a lot of people I noticed sometimes get confused between Sasquatch, Bigfoot, and
the Wendigo.
The Wendigo is not a Bigfoot or a Sasquatch. The Wendigo is an evil spirit. It's a cannibalistic evil spirit. According to the legends up here of it, it's a cannibalistic evil entity that has the ability to possess somebody's body. And
yeah.
Oh, so you have Paula Work. That's what I am, Seneca Indian. Cool.
Oh, that's cool.
Very cool.
Yeah, the Senecas had this, especially this area that I live in. This is they were keepers of the Western Gate. And they have a huge area here west of me still, which is really cool. Because I go out there to buy cigarettes, which are cheaper out there.
And peanut.
Yeah, there you go. Seneca cigarettes. Yep. Yeah.
Yeah, we were talking to Brian Goslin one time, and he found out where I don't want to dox myself, but he found out where kind of close to where we lived, and
we went to his house.
Yeah, and we went down. Yeah. Anyway. Yeah, but he told us about this. He showed us this casting, and I'm going to put a picture up here.
Well, this is the one that Brian took.
Let's see, and you can't see any detail because it's on a phone, but.
On the casting, though, you can see the clover marks.
Right, you can. But anyway, Brian told us the story of this casting and how he got it, and there were other prints there as well. But this is a big casting, like really big.
Well, yeah. We got this story a year before we went to Bob's.
Right. So Brian wouldn't tell us where he got this because the guy wanted his privacy.
Yeah, that's understandable.
So we were in the process of trying to purchase a I can't say it. I won't say it on your channel, Bushcraft. We wanted to purchase something that you can't have delivered to your house that you go hunting with.
You need to go to a certified.
Right. So we go down to pick it up after we ordered it, and wherever we go, typically Bigfoot comes up in the conversation. I don't care if it's the grocery store, but so we're talking to this salesman dealer, and we get on the subject of Bigfoot, and he's like, well, there just 2 houses down, there was a Bigfoot guy that came down out of Whitehall, and he casted this print in my neighbor's yard. It was that casting. So we got the story of this casting and where it was, and it's as the crow flies. This is less than a mile from our house. It's like right off.
Oh wow!
Yeah, it's right off the mountain. Yeah.
So like that year prior to all that, I poke bears. There's no such thing as a piggy feets. Plus, it creeped the heck out. It creeped me out. I didn't, no way. Those things don't exist. And I poked, didn't I? Yeah. But then in all my years, which has been forever for me, I've lived in the Adirondacks. I've never heard or felt the things that I heard ever before. And it really bothered me for a long time. So when I got a hold of Brian through a friend of mine, that's his grandson, long story short, I'm a believer now, although I'm still, I go into it with a grain of salt because like for every 10 you may hear, 1 might be true.
Or 100 or 1,000.
Yeah. Yeah. But
The internet's multiplied it.
Yeah, it has. But I believe many people I've heard the way they tell it. Because
you like to believe, I mean, especially if you know the people, you like to think they're telling you the truth,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So
That's like that.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Okay.
Finish what you.
Just saying, so when I heard these noises, of course, I told Brian and I told his wife, and later on over the years, because that was several years ago. But when this picture, not just a picture, like we've seen this in glass, out of glass, like I've touched it, it became even more real for me because the exact date and month and time of year and year like that this was taken, just boom, was the same time I was hearing them out in our woods off our front porch.
Did I just hear you say that it touched some glass?
No,
No.
the casting was in glass.
This was
Oh! I was about to say, because if that ever happens again, try to get a sample of the fingerprints, the oil.
Yeah,
Try to get a sample of that.
I heard you say that when I was out watering the garden and fixing the pond filter. Yeah, that's a good idea with the oils, with the hand or footprints. That's a really good idea.
Yeah, if anything ever leaves a very large handprint on glass or anything, mask up, get some rubber gloves, get a little tubular thing and a Q-tip, and try to get at least as good a sample as you can and get it in there. Try not to contaminate it, because
or go on vacation.
Maybe only do some of it and not the whole thing. And we already know who we're going to call, and he's going to come.
Yeah, we're talking to Brian.
Awesome. Yeah, that'd be probably.
Brian, and I'm sending the rest of it straight to Melba Ketchum.
No.
That's a joke, by the way.
It's a joke.
Send it to Doug Highcheck, or send it to Meldrum, or
Yeah, Meldrum.
But yeah, I mean, if you get any of that,
yeah. And of course, if you would want to be contacted, that'd be fun too.
Yeah. And I had noticed that somebody in the chat said, you should always have a good healthy dose. There we go. Healthy dose of skepticism. And that's true. You should, no matter what, I mean, yeah, I'm one of those people. You know, I say, well, I don't have to question whether it exists or not anymore. Now I just have a whole bunch of other questions.
Yeah, I've got
You
a
know?
lot of beachfront property in Arizona.
You know,
Yeah,
I mean,
there'd be a lot of gullible people out there if you didn't
yeah,
weren't skeptical.
yeah. But you know, I mean, it's the thing is, somebody mentioned, you know, I think it was you. Yeah, it was. I can't see your name because of the little fence. Oh, Bigfoot. Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Sorry.
You call him because
Anyway, you're the one you had mentioned it when you were talking about um, listening to Brian when he was talking about stuff, and you could tell that you know this guy is like just reliving this thing. This is something that really happened to him, and you can and from my perspective, I can tell you why, and that's because I can guarantee you, almost guarantee you. I've never met Brian, but that'll be with him for the rest of his life. And if he's anything like that, it will never fade. It won't fade.
Yeah.
You know, that kind of thing. You know, probably part of the reason why I can hang on to what I saw out there so and recall it with such clarity. Um, may have something to do with PTSD.
Yeah.
And of course, the encounter didn't help any because it was terrifying.
Yeah.
But you know, that's people. Yeah, it'll change you. It'll change you. It'll change the way you think. It certainly changed the way I thought about this whole thing, man.
Yeah. When I was talking to Brian, he was literally in tears, and he would look us right in the eye and say, "Here was this thing that is not supposed to be there,
right.
but here it is."
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, for years he for years in the beginning he wished he never saw it.
He got shunned by a lot of people.
It tore him up,
Yeah,
really bad, and now he's really grateful. He's glad, and he's learned over the years how to handle everything. Plus he has a really awesome wife, you know, who loves him.
His book's right there.
well, it surprises me that a lot of people, you know, and it may be that there are people out there that have had actual encounters with these things that won't come forward. And, you know, just in my opinion, I think a lot of that has to do with all the hoaxing that goes on, all the ridiculousness you see online. They're afraid to actually say something about it because they're like, I don't want people to think I'm crazy.
Yeah.
You know,
This is Brian's book that him and his wife wrote, and it doesn't have all the Hollywood hype in it. That's the story. And
yeah.
Now, do you go and do you sit outside? You go camping? You go and actually like expedition or anything like that?
Well, no, I don't like expedition, and when it comes right down to it, I don't. Even though I have, you know, the name of the whole thing that I have is in Western New York Investigation Group. I'm not really an investigator. I have been in the past, like somebody's told me, hey, this is going on my property. You know, can you come check it out? I did that once with a friend of mine who's into it that actually is with the New York Bigfoot Society.
Yeah.
We went on an investigation of somebody's property, but normally as a general rule, I'm telling you what I'm really trying to do is get answers to my own encounter now. And I'm going back out to that area. Now I haven't been out there in a long time. Things, you know, happen in life and you have to deal with them first, right?
Right.
Bigfoot is a hobby. You know, it's not my bread and butter. You know, it's not how I make my living.
Yeah.
I have to have an actual job and all that stuff. But so I'm not really that. But yeah, I do. I go out camping, especially in that area. That's probably going to be one of the first places I camp. I'm probably going to do it in August. because that's when I had that encounter 3 years ago. Was in August.
August, September, and April, and May.
Now, I've been out there in August before and didn't see a thing. Nothing happened. But I figure, you know, if he was there once in August, maybe he'll be there again in August. I don't know. But yeah, I go out and yeah, if I take a walk in the woods and things like that, and I'll look around to see if anything, you know, looks like it could be tracks or anything like that. And yeah, sometimes I'll put out, especially like recorders, audio recorders, just in case I catch some weird sounds. Now, mostly I know I'm going to catch a lot of owls, coyotes, maybe that. You know, if I hear that in the woods, I'm going to be like, no, I'm gone. No, I don't know what that is. But
that's a win.
I do that kind of stuff, but just in an effort to try to add to a database. You know, that people have going. That's what I'm hoping I can do this coming year, because there's some pretty good databases out there of people that have recorded sounds. Now, good many of them are known animals, but there's some sounds in there that are anomalies, and we're not exactly sure what they are. Can we say that automatically that they're Bigfoot? No, but is it a possibility? Yes. You know, it's a possibility. So I'm always wanting to record stuff, and of course, yeah, I'll have a camera running, you know, because if I ever run across one again, I don't want to miss it. Yeah. Even though, like I said, video is really going to go out the window with AI, man. Nobody's going to believe it because
that's true. You're right.
So good, but at least I'll have it. At least I'll know it's real, and the people that know me and know. They'll know it's real, you know. So
yeah,
I mean that's how I approach
with
that.
Judy there. I kind of would like to see one, and then I kind of wouldn't. if he was walking across the street a couple blocks away, yeah, that's good. But if he's coming right up on me, oh no.
Well, I set it off, and you know, if I ever get lucky enough to ever encounter another one of these things, man, no, I don't want it to be as close as that one was.
Yeah,
not at all. If it's a few hundred yards off, or you know, something, or it crosses the road, that'll be fine. That'll be fine for me. I don't want to be that close ever again.
40 feet, right? You said that's
about 40 feet. Yep,
that's pretty close.
That's close. I mean, that's like horseshoes close.
Well, I can go through it because I'm sure there's probably people in the chat that, you know, are curious about it. The whole thing just started with me looking for a hiking stick that I had, and I had left it out in this area about a week before. Left it leaning against a tree. When I was looking at something that I thought, could it be a footprint? I don't know. It's pretty inconclusive as to whether it was or not. And I left that hiking stick leaning against a tree when I left, and didn't realize it until I was already home. You know, I went, oh man. But I knew where it was. So I went out there looking for it, and I parked my Jeep near where my campsite is. I had it facing out because anytime you go anywhere, that's a good rule of thumb. Park so that your avenue of escape is straight ahead of you. And I got out of the Jeep and I started to walk into the woods and down this old game trail is really what it is now. And I was looking for a tree that I knew that was the point where I'd have to make a turn and head in the direction of where I'd left my walking stick. So I'm walking down the trail, making plenty of damn noise too. I'm an old man, fat. I'm not silent when it comes to moving through the woods. And I'm walking down through there, and I see this tree, and I glanced up at it, and I looked ahead of me, and I took a step. And as soon as I took that step, about 15 to 20 yards in front of me, this deer explodes out of the ferns. It was laying there. I did not even see it when I looked in that direction. And when it jumped up out of the ferns and it ran to my left, it kind of startled me because I wasn't expecting it. As soon as that happened, I heard this noise from next to me really loud. And I snapped my head to the right, and there it was. about 40 feet away from me in the trees. And this thing was huge. And immediately all I did was this. I threw my hands up and I went, I'm not here to F up your day, big fella. And I started to take 3 steps backwards, and I turned to my right, and I'm like, it's not moving. And I pretty much got out of there towards my Jeep as fast as I could. I was expecting every moment for this thing to freaking just jump out of the trees and grab me. I didn't hear any movement like it was following me, but by the time I got to my Jeep, I opened the door. Took me 2 tries to actually open the door of the Jeep, and it's just a little, it's one of the ones you just pull it.
Well, I
got in
know.
my Jeep and I went to start my Jeep, and my hand was shaking so bad I could not get my key into my ignition, and I just sat there and I was like, okay, I can't leave. And I looked back at the tree line, and I was fully expecting to see that thing standing there in a tree line or something. Nothing.
Awesome.
And so I sat there and let my heart stop beating so hard. I let myself calm down, and the whole time I'm thinking, what was that? Was that what I've been what is that? What's
Right.
Nobody's gonna believe this. Nobody's gonna believe this. Was that a Bigfoot? I mean, I'm like, it was incredible. And so finally I got enough to where I was calling up. I started my Jeep and I freaking got the hell out of there. And it took me about 3 weeks to get enough courage to go back out there to try to get my hiking stick again.
I was going to say, did you get your hiking stick?
I did. It's actually sitting in my wife's office right now. But
I hope you
and I'll tell you, 3 weeks later, though, as I was going towards there, I mean, I was nervous. I wasn't terrified or anything, but I was nervous because everything's going in my head, and I'm expecting, man, what if this thing just jumps out from behind a tree? But I made it all the way to my hiking stick. I got it, and yeah, I guess I probably kind of quick timed it out of there anyway. I was freaking myself out at that point,
That walking stick became a running stick.
Yeah. But I was, I at that time, I look back on that now and I go, man, you were really just freaking yourself out because you're back in that area. And, of course you're going to all of a sudden like, oh man, is this thing going to jump out at me, and you get I put my hand on my hiking stick and it's like, whew, and then all of a sudden it's like, no, I'm out of here, but like I said, so far, and I'd been out there plenty of times after that, camping, and nothing, so I don't know, man. It's out there. And, people say, well, how can you say you don't know 100% that was a Bigfoot? Well, because before that point, I'd never seen a Bigfoot. I mean, I was probably, if I were forced to say what I expected, if I ever were to see one, I guess I kind of thought I'd see something that looked more like a gorilla standing on 2 legs.
Right.
So you didn't take out your Sasquatch field guide and measure the dimensions and the size of the jaw?
No time for that.
Or stood there and be like, I thought you'd be bigger.
Well, this thing was about 7.5 foot tall. I measured it later on, and
that's huge.
I actually, and that's about as close as I come. I know it was about 18 inches taller than me, and I'm 5'9", so that would put it right around the 7.5 foot range.
Big boy.
And he was huge. He was wide. I mean, the body was massive on him. The shoulders, the head. Of course, the head, I mean, I imagine the head, I mean, it was proportional to the rest of his body, but his body was huge too. So, and, it's something that sticks with me. And it's like, yeah, I mean, 7.5 foot tall, covered in hair, no clothes, stalking a deer, apparently.
You just described half of Southeast Ohio.
With a face that only a mother could love. I mean, I don't know what other category to put it in. But am I 100% sure that Rasta, that's what I named him.
Rasta.
because of the hair and this, you know,
Yeah,
kind of look
yeah.
a little bit like dreadlockies. And I think it's just because during that time, at that time in August, it had been raining and it was very damp and overcast that day. So maybe his hair was wet or something. I don't know. But I named him Rasta. And so is Rasta 100% what we call a Bigfoot? I guess. I don't know what other category to put him in. Could he be something else? I've ruled out every other thing that it could be, other than some kind of very huge troglodytic person with, you know, hypertrichinosis or something. I mean, that seems pretty far-fetched to me right there. You know? But,
Yeah.
I mean, I haven't ruled that out.
People
You know,
can't look at holes
I
or
don't know.
something. Yeah. Yeah, that's
I've ruled out hoax. That would be an incredible hoax to pull off on me.
no, I said holes. Holes.
No. I wasn't responding to
We
you.
got him.
I wasn't responding to what you said. I've ruled that out. I've ruled out hoax because that's even more incredible than just accidentally running into a Sasquatch stalking a deer. I mean, somebody would have had to know when I was going to be out there, at what time I was going to be out there. It would have had to have been a person that was at least 7 foot tall with the best costume on that I've ever seen in my entire life. And it would have had to enlisted the aid of a deer.
Right.
Pull off this hoax.
Good point. Good point.
So, hoax,
It's their
no.
pet.
Bear, no. That was definitely no bear. And it wasn't a hunter in a ghillie suit. Man. So, yeah.
There's one thing that because we've been, I don't know, once it gets in your blood, it's kind of in your blood and you can't really get rid of it. It's you just want to know more about this. You want to hear more stories. You want to hear different things. And you know, we've got things to do castings. Probably never see a footprint, but we've got the casting stuff. Yeah. But one of the coolest things that we have now is something that you can use if you were ever looking for a Bigfoot, but this has other applications as well. And it's called a FLIR 1, and it attaches to an iPhone, and it gives you thermal vision for night.
Oh, yeah. I've heard of those.
Record right on your iPhone exactly what you're seeing. The first night we had it out, we drove down the road, and we're just scanning this random set of the tree line. It's like 10 deer right there. You would have never known they were there.
Yeah.
I do like
that. Well, that's the thing, you know. I mean, you can. I mean, it's just that case right there. That deer was laying in those tall ferns and other whatever grass, I guess you would call it, that's growing up along in that trail. And I never saw it. It was brown. I never saw it because it wasn't moving. You know, the human eye is designed to detect movement. We're real good at detecting movement.
Yeah.
We're not so good at seeing something if it's standing completely stock still and it's well camouflaged.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so people often ask me about Bigfoot, and I'm like, yeah, I mean, it lives out there, man, 24/7, 365. It's adapted to its environment, obviously. Mm-hmm. So could one be standing, you know, concealed in some trees and you would walk right by it and not even see it? Possibly.
Yeah.
Possibly.
People do it all the time with snakes.
It's true.
That know there's snakes there, and they walk and they get hit by a snake, and I never seen it.
What do they say? If it would have been a snake?
Yeah.
What could you say about Bigfoot? If it would have been a Bigfoot, it would have broke me?
Yeah, well, that's the thing is, like, you know, and I'm not saying that that Bigfoot's out to harm anybody, but if it's a hominid and it's primitive, you know, I mean, we're all animals, and it could be a dangerous animal given the rights. Any animal can be dangerous in the right situation. I mean, I've been charged by a white-tailed buck, and it scared the living crap out of me.
Thinks of it. It's seen you. What the hell's that?
Yeah. I know. Well, that's, you know, a lot of people have asked me about that. It was, well, what do you think was going through? I have no idea. I can't put myself in the mind of that thing. But maybe I can only surmise things. Maybe he was just as scared as I was, because, you know, maybe he didn't know what the hell was going on. Like, all of a sudden he's like trying to get breakfast or something, and here comes this old fat little not hairy thing you know, stumbling into his area. I mean, I don't know. He didn't look pleased, you know, that I was there. I mean, he never opened his mouth. He just had this kind of frown on his face, like you saw in the picture.
Mhm.
And I don't know, that may be his just every general day expression for all I know. But
Right.
I can't put my mind into his to say what he thought or what he was thinking when he saw me. But there was some reason why he didn't rush me.
Jamie has a good question in the chat there. I was going to ask the same question.
Oh,
No, I've had that question asked before. I did not smell anything. No. Now, is it because the wind? I mean, it wasn't a windy day.
you probably
In
wasn't
fact, as
breathing
I
in
remember,
anything.
there was no wind at all. So I don't know. Maybe it was in the wrong direction. But no, I didn't smell anything.
Yeah. You had a
Just
question?
the regular smell of the woods around me. You know.
Go ahead.
I was wondering, you said I can't remember whether you said, or if you even said, it could have been just me, but when and if you heard this thing that you saw,
Oh, the noise.
yeah, I wanted to talk about the feeling of the sound.
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, it was very loud. It was a scream was what I heard.
Okay.
And it sounded like he screamed twice when it happened because the deer shot up to the left.
Okay.
And when I was watching the deer, all I heard was this scream. And it sounded like something hit the tree next to me, that tree with the crotch in it that I was looking for. It sounded like something hit that tree, and immediately there was another scream. So it was back to back. I mean, and it was so loud because he was close, 40 feet away.
Mm.
You know, yeah, you've heard people describe, oh, you could feel the vibration. Yeah, it was kind of like that. I mean, it was very loud, scared the living crap out of me. And that's why when I snapped my head to the right and saw that thing, that was my immediate reaction was like, whoa. You know, and my first thought was flight, man. There was no fight. There was no friend. There was flight only. Oh, no, I had my phone in my back pocket, too.
That's not what you think
There
of.
is no, like, hang on, big fella, say cheese. No. Right about then, it's all about self-preservation, man.
Yeah.
In my case, it was about self-preservation. I had no idea. I mean, this thing probably could have taken 3 steps.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know, and been on me if it had wanted to, you know, and that's all I was worried about was like, you know, getting out of there with my skin still attached.
Yeah.
They say, why is there no pictures? Maybe that's why. If you take a picture, then you don't get seen anymore, and that's why there's no picture.
Yeah. Hence the missing 411.
Well, look, I will
have the pictures.
It's gotten to the point since that experience with me when somebody's telling me about an encounter they have, I never ask them, did you get a picture?
No.
Because I know I'm like, no, you didn't.
No,
not if it was anything like what I encountered. You know, not if it was that kind of a close-up encounter. You're not getting a picture because that's the last thing in your mind was take a picture.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so I never ask anybody.
Same thing with bears. There are people that's taking pictures of bears. They're not too smart though. But like, if you're sitting there and a bear comes walking, that's not the first thing you think of. Is, oh, what a cute bear! I'm gonna take a picture.
Point. My dog saw a bear before I even saw it.
Right.
We were camping in an area nearby there, and this bear was out in this little meadow type area that was near the camp. And my dog saw it before I did, and I didn't get it. I didn't even think, hey, let me take a picture of this bear. I just watched the bear. At first I thought, oh my God, I'm going to see another Sasquatch, because all I saw in the meadow at first was this large black shape, you know, and I'm like, and it started to move, and when it started to get up, I thought, this thing's going to stand all the way up and I'm going to see a Sasquatch. No, it got up and it stopped, and I saw it lift, and I was like, it's a bear. And I could see it was a black bear, and it didn't even pay much attention to us. I knew we were there.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure it could smell us, and it knew the dog was there. But it never really even looked in our direction. It got up and it walked off across the meadow, and into the other tree line off into the woods, and I never saw it again after that. But I didn't think to take a picture of that bear. That would have been a great bear picture.
Well, I'll ask you guys this because I haven't heard of it. So, Cherokee Devil in West Virginia or North Carolina?
Sounds familiar, but I can't swear that I've heard.
It's funny.
I couldn't tell you the story about it.
The Cherokee Devil is, of course, indigenous or Indian, whatever. Like I heard you earlier.
Native. Yeah.
Indigenous is, they were here first.
So, there's a couple that they actually call that. So Cherokee has many, many, as some of y'all know, that's what I do. But, it could have been anything from a raven mocker to a wendigo, A
lot of Native American lore and legend.
Yeah. So, like the Cherokee Devil, there's quite a few.
And he asked a question earlier also, Tennessee Ridge Runner did. He asked about the Russian hikers. And there was there's a couple different incidents. And
that one I'm not convinced that had anything to do with any kind of Sasquatch or Yeti or anything.
I'm thinking of the Dyatlov Pass.
Yeah, that's what
I just did that story on my channel. It was actually the last video I recorded.
It's a pretty weird story though.
It is. It's an unsolved mystery, and there just happens to be this frame of something out there in the distance in the trees. You can't.
I think it's another person.
I believe so too. Yeah.
But hey, for the good of it and the bad of it, and there's both in the Bigfoot community. There's the good, there's the bad. But there's a lot of the just the nature of it. A lot of people in the Bigfoot community. Bigfoot, everything's Bigfoot, and so they'll grab anything and try to associate it with Bigfoot.
Now, can I ask you something? You don't have to answer this.
Mm-hmm.
From my personal experience with the time that I've been on YouTube covering Bigfoot and topics like that, have you seen where there's some really serious competition where they try to hog information, or they try to claim to have this, or it's like if you truly want to know about this creature or this being, why wouldn't you share everything instead of trying to capitalize off of this? I that disgusts me when I see that. It's like,
oh, the money part of the aspect.
Well, yeah, and it's like there's so much competition. It's like just
that's on another side of things, and I know what I think I get what you're referring to, but I don't think there's any serious researchers out there that are trying to cover this in a scientific way, and like that are withholding information.
Yeah.
A lot of the other people that you'll see, I've got some information, but I'm not going to release it yet. Well, that's probably pretty much BS.
Yeah.
You have to hear that a lot.
I'll tell you more.
It's coming up. I've got some fantastic eye-opening, and then you never see it. So
or that's on Patreon,
Yeah, or the breaking news, but I won't talk about it till 9:00.
And again, we've mentioned this many times on, my channel, other Bigfoot channels that I've been on and stuff. I've got no problem. There's nothing wrong with somebody making an honest buck on something.
No, not at all.
But there's a lot of shady activity that goes on with some people in the Bigfoot community. And it's not just the Bigfoot community, I'm sure. It probably has to do with a lot with UFO probably happens too, and etc. Anything that you're in, you're going to have some characters in there that are just trying to wring as much money out of a subject that they can, out of people that want to believe, and so that's an uphill battle. It's not one that I fight all the time. I'm not the Bigfoot crusader. I'm the Bigfoot atheist, and I really just want an answer to what those things are and where they stem from. Are they more human? Are they more like the extant apes? I think they're more like us. I can't say for any definitive thing that you know, they do belong in the Homo genus somewhere, or they belong in the Australopithecine genus, or whatever. I mean, those are great hypotheses.
Sure.
Yeah.
And possible hypotheses, but you know, you have to have a body of facts that back up your hypothesis, you know, and if you can't find those, then you have to come up with a new hypothesis, right?
Yeah.
So a lot of that is hypothesis, you know, and that's pretty much all you're going to see. The honest people will tell you that it's their hypothesis. The ones that aren't will state things that are actually hypothesis, but they'll state them as fact, like they know it. And it's like, no, you don't. And that's the problem with the research area. The entertainment area, I love it. I love listening to everything.
Right. Right.
You know?
Yeah.
And I love listening to encounter stories, whether I believe them or not. I still enjoy the ones that I go, no, there's some red flags there. I'm not sure I can really believe that one. You know, and then there's the ones where I come away going, man, that somebody, yeah, they saw something, man.
Yeah.
Right.
You know?
And you can enjoy all of it and just take your nuggets of knowledge from the ones that you kind of think maybe are legit,
yeah,
and move on.
yeah.
Yeah.
And then
What
the
do you
rest
guys
of it
think
is just
about-
entertainment, you know.
Bigfoot Research Organization. I don't know it, so that another question for you guys.
Yeah.
BFRO, yeah. Well, the BFRO, you know, I don't know him and I don't really deal with it. Matt Moneymaker is the head of that. He's very controversial with some people. The actual organization itself, my opinion was a great idea.
Mm-hmm.
They do have a fantastic database of, you know, of recording sightings and, you know, and things of that nature. So, I mean, and there's a lot of really good, serious researchers that are involved in the BFRO. So, and I know a few of them. So, yeah, I've got no problem with them. And all the controversy about Matt Moneymaker, you know, whatever.
Yeah.
I don't get involved with that because
just even forget Matt Moneymaker or the leaders. You got all of these people contributing encounters to this in faith.
It's about the people.
And you've got some really legit, honest researchers out there that go out and investigate these encounters.
Right.
You know, now they do have to shift in between. You know, what are the ones that are worth investigating? In other words, is this person really recounting something, or is this person just making up a story and wasting my time?
Yeah.
They do. I'm sure they have to sift through those. But yeah, I mean, I think it's the idea of that database and the researchers that are involved in that, I think is a good thing, you know?
Yeah. The database is that's what makes it have its worth.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Well,
absolutely.
listen, Bushcraft, I think we're going to hop down so you guys can have some time just one-on-one.
I find you really, really interesting.
Yes. I want to go.
Well, thanks. It was nice meeting you guys.
I want to go find your channel and make sure we're subscribed.
Oh, I already am.
Awesome. Awesome.
Nice. I know.
Thank you.
You don't stop.
So
It doesn't have a lot of content right now because I'm in the process of rebuilding it. But as the year goes on and things start to pick up and I'm able to go out and get things, you know, done and do things, then if it's worthy, there'll be more content on there if it's worthy to put up there.
Yeah. All right. Well, very nice meeting you, Bushcraft. Thank you for the opportunity to come up.
Yep. Thanks for coming up.
Free to give them, you know, our email or something if you want.
Yeah.
Yeah, you guys can actually email me at WNYBIG@yahoo.com. Huh?
Is it on your channel?
Section?
I believe it's on my channel. The email's there, and it's also on my Facebook page, The Bigfoot Atheist.
All right, we'll find it.
Okay. All right.
Awesome.
All right, thanks, chat, for the good questions and good conversation. Appreciate you all, and
What are we doing? Okay.
see you guys later.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Well, we're about at the end of the live here. So do you have any plans for upcoming on your channel and whatnot?
Yeah, hopefully there's going to be this guy that's into bushcraft that I'm going to get on there in the near future. And there'll probably be another Sasquatch Random Live when I come up with a subject that I want to cover, because I'm starting to do some of that too.
Yeah.
You know, that seems to be a popular thing, Bigfoot in the news type stuff. And some of it may be me showing you an obvious hoax. Some of it may be something that is inconclusive, but might be something, you know.
Yeah.
But I don't really like showing the might be something things, but you know, I have seen stuff out there where, you know, I can't go, well, that's pareidolia. That's a hoax.
There's one more.
It could
one
be
more
something.
question.
Yeah. Has anyone ever tried leaving them food with tranquilizers just enough to get pics and hair samples, or leave them alcohol so they get intoxicated and sleep again? Just enough for some pictures. I don't know. I don't know about the thing with the food with the tranquilizers, because, well, you know, there's a lot of other animals out there that could eat that food. There's no telling that if it's going to be a Bigfoot.
And how much
gets at it?
How much would you give it?
Yeah. And if you leave beer out in the woods, I'm going to drink it. So, although I'm not a big drinker anymore, but I still do like my Genesee beer occasionally. I'd love to drink a beer with a Bigfoot if that was possible.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm not sure I'd want to get one drunk.
Oh, no.
I think that'd be a lot like dealing with a drunk bear.
Oh, yeah.
And I've actually seen some videos that were pretty funny of bears drunk on fermented apples.
Oh, boy.
Yeah. Pretty hilarious. But
yeah, I don't like to think about messing with a bear, let alone a Bigfoot or anything. Yeah. Not my thing. And I've been in the woods, I've seen the bears, and when I was little, I had a bear walk across the small river and everything, and look over at me, look back and cross the river, and never seen him again.
Yeah. Unfortunately, here in New York, these black bears here, I've rarely seen them.
That's where it was in New York.
Yeah, they're pretty timid mostly. You know, as long as you don't surprise them, obviously.
Yeah,
they're pretty easy to deal with. There's you don't hear about black bear attacks here. You know. So, and as long as you're careful around them, you'll be fine.
Oh yeah, that's like it. I mean, I've seen raccoons are pretty nasty little things.
yeah, trash pandas. That's right.
Yeah. Well, I think I'll go ahead and end the live here. I want to thank you for coming up here.
Thank you for having me on. It was fun.
Thanks everybody for hanging out with us tonight, and thank you mods because we did have somebody, and I do believe that's probably a normal thing.
Yeah.
When you have somebody that doesn't agree with you, they have to resort to calling you a name.
Yeah, I've heard it all.
Yeah. But I got good mods, so they take care of things good for me. Yeah. And again, thanks everybody for hanging out with us. Make sure you go over and subscribe. The link's been in the chat for the last hour and a half, so you should be able to find it. Till next time, we'll catch you guys later.